For 3,000 years, Earth had been silent. The planet, once teeming with life and the echoes of human voices, now lay in ruin. Cities that had once been symbols of human progress were reduced to rubble. Nature had reclaimed much of the land, and wild animals roamed where humans once thrived. The Earth that was left behind was a mere ghost of its former self, a forgotten world in the vastness of space. Above the planet, in the cold emptiness of the stars, the alien ships hovered. They had been watching the Earth for centuries, ever since the Great War had decimated humanity and left them scattered across the universe. To them, Earth was nothing more than a dead rock. They had crushed its civilization, wiped out its people, and moved on, believing the humans were gone for good. The alien empire had ruled for millennia, and Earth was now nothing more than a distant memory. The humans who had once been a force to be reckoned with were nothing but a myth, a tale told to scare children. No one truly believed that humans would ever return to challenge the powerful empire that now controlled the galaxy. But as the years passed, something began to stir deep within the heart of the planet, something the aliens failed to notice. Far below the surface, in a hidden chamber buried beneath the rubble of a forgotten city, the remnants of humanity's last great hope lay dormant. A group of survivors had fled the planet after the war, leaving behind only traces of their existence. But Earth had not been entirely abandoned. Hidden beneath the ruins, carefully preserved and forgotten by time, was a ship, an ancient, powerful warship that had been designed to protect humanity from its enemies. The ship, known as the Terran Rebirth, was built long before the war, a vessel unlike any other in the galaxy. It was a symbol of humanity's greatest achievement and its ultimate defense. But when the war began and Earth was overrun, the ship was sealed away, its purpose forgotten. Only a handful of humans knew of its existence, and even they had vanished into the stars, leaving the ship to wait for a time when humanity would return. The years passed, and the world outside changed. The humans who had escaped Earth were scattered across the galaxy, living in secrecy, waiting for the day when they could reclaim their home. But as the centuries turned into millennia, they began to lose hope. Earth seemed like a distant memory, a dream that would never come true. The Terran Rebirth remained buried, forgotten beneath layers of dirt and rock, waiting for the right moment to awaken. It was on the 3,000th year of silence that the first sign of change appeared. A small group of human survivors, who had been living in the outer reaches of the galaxy, stumbled upon an ancient message, a signal buried deep in the archives of their people. The message was brief, almost a whisper, but it was enough. It spoke of Earth, of the forgotten warship, and of a destiny that had yet to be fulfilled. Mira, a young leader of the surviving humans, listened to the message in awe. She had grown up hearing stories of Earth's destruction, of the horrors that had befallen her ancestors. But the message was different. It spoke of hope, of a future where humanity could rise again and reclaim what had been lost. Mira couldn't believe it at first, but the more she thought about it, the more she realized that this was the key to their survival. The message led her and her group of survivors to the edge of known space, to a forgotten corner of the galaxy where Earth lay hidden in the darkness. Mira had heard of the place, but she had never believed she would set foot there again. She had thought it was a place lost to time, a place that would remain empty forever. But now, with this message, everything had changed. The journey was long, and the survivors faced many dangers. The galaxy was no longer a safe place, and the alien forces that had once destroyed Earth were still out there, still hunting down the remnants of humanity. But Mira knew that they had no choice but to go back. They had to find the Terran Rebirth, the ship that could change everything. As the small fleet of ships approached Earth, the sight of the planet brought a wave of emotions to Mira. It was so much smaller than she remembered, so much quieter. The once vibrant cities were reduced to broken shells, and the forests and oceans that had once teemed with life now seemed cold and lifeless. But despite the devastation, there was still something powerful about the planet. It was as though Earth itself was waiting for them to return, waiting for the humans to rise up once more. The survivors landed on Earth's surface, and as they set foot on the soil of their ancestors, they couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. It was a strange feeling, both beautiful and terrifying. For 3,000 years, this planet had been silent, but now the humans were back. Mira stood at the edge of the ruins, staring out at the desolate landscape. She knew the journey ahead would be difficult, but she also knew that humanity's time had come. The Terran rebirth was out there, waiting for them to reclaim it. And when they did, they would show the galaxy that Earth's silence had not been a sign of weakness. It had been a time of preparation. Humanity had been forgotten, but they were far from finished. And now, the time had come for them to make their return. This opening sets the stage for the epic return of humanity and their fight to reclaim Earth. The tension builds with the discovery of the message, the ancient ship, and the human determination to rise again. It teases the grand scale of the story to come, with an emphasis on suspense, mystery, and the determination to avenge Earth. As the survivors of the human fleet stepped off their ships and onto the broken Earth, a sense of urgency gripped Mira. The planet seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for them to make their move. It had been so long since anyone had set foot on this soil, and the weight of history pressed heavily upon them. The message had led them here, but now that they had arrived, the real challenge began, finding the Terran rebirth and ensuring it was still capable of fulfilling its purpose. Mira's team was small, but they were skilled. The survivors of the human diaspora had adapted to the harsh realities of life in the outer reaches of space. They were no strangers to survival, to struggle, but nothing had prepared them for what they were about to face on Earth. The planet was no longer the vibrant home they had once known. Now, it was a land of ruins and forgotten dreams. The ruins of ancient cities loomed in the distance, their skeletal remains casting long shadows over the landscape. These were once the great centers of human civilization, places of knowledge, culture, and industry. But now, they were little more than tombs. Overgrown with weeds and vines, the remnants of the past seemed to mock the humans who had once called this place home. The buildings, though broken and crumbling, still stood tall, as if defying time itself. "We need to find the location," Mira said, her voice steady but filled with determination. She had heard stories of the Terran rebirth, of its power and its potential, but none of those stories could have prepared her for the reality. It wasn't just a ship, it was the key to humanity's future. If they could awaken it, they could take the fight to the galaxy once again, to avenge Earth's destruction and show the galaxy that humanity was far from finished. The survivors moved quickly through the ruins, their eyes scanning for any sign of the ship. They had little information to go on, just a vague sense of where the ship might be hidden. But Mira trusted in the message that had brought them here. It had to be real. It had to be the key. After hours of searching, they finally came to a hidden entrance, buried deep beneath the rubble of a fallen city. The doorway was small, almost unnoticeable, but it was there. The survivors carefully made their way inside, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The air was stale, and the ground was thick with dust, but the weight of what they were about to uncover was palpable. Mira stepped forward, her heart pounding in her chest. She could feel it, an energy, an almost electric hum beneath her feet. It was as if the earth itself was alive, waiting for them to awaken the ship that had been hidden for so long. As they descended deeper into the earth, the temperature dropped and the air grew colder. The walls of the tunnel were lined with metal, a stark contrast to the natural decay of the world outside. It was clear that this was no ordinary structure. This was a place of great importance, a place that had been carefully hidden from the rest of the galaxy. Finally, they reached a massive chamber. It was vast, far larger than any of them had anticipated. And in the center of the room, surrounded by intricate machinery and glowing symbols, lay the Terran rebirth. The ship was magnificent, even in its dormant state. It was unlike any vessel Mira had ever seen, sleek and powerful, built for both speed and strength. Its surface was covered in strange markings, some of which Mira recognized from the ancient texts her people had studied. This was the ship that would carry them back into the galaxy. This was the ship that would allow humanity to reclaim their place among the stars. Mira stepped forward, her hand trembling, as she reached out to touch the ship's surface. The moment her fingers made contact, a low hum filled the chamber, and the ship began to stir. Lights flickered to life, and the ship seemed to wake, as if it had been waiting for this moment all along. A voice echoed through the chamber, low and resonant. "Welcome, Turan survivors," it said. "The Turan rebirth is ready for activation." Mira's breath caught in her throat. The ship was alive. It was speaking to them. And in that moment, she realized that they were no longer just survivors. They were the ones who had come to reclaim their birthright, to avenge the destruction of Earth. But the voice continued, its tone growing more urgent. "The threat is still out there. You must act quickly. The enemy will not be as forgiving as time has been." The words sent a chill down Mira's spine. They had only just arrived, and yet the gravity of their mission was already clear. They were not just waking up a ship, they were waking up a force that would change the galaxy forever. The galaxy that had once believed humanity was weak, that Earth was gone for good, would soon learn how wrong they were. "We're ready," Mira said, her voice unwavering. "Let's take back what's ours." The ship rumbled, as if in response. The engines began to hum, and the chamber seemed to come alive around them. It was time to rise. The Turan rebirth was no longer dormant. Humanity was back. As the ship powered up, Mira turned to her team, her face set with determination. "Prepare yourselves. The galaxy won't know what hit it." In that moment, as the Turan rebirth began to ascend from the depths of Earth, Mira knew that their return was just the beginning. The galaxy had underestimated humanity once, but it would not make that mistake again. The Terran Empire was about to rise. This section builds on the discovery of the Turan rebirth and sets up the feeling of awe and anticipation that humanity feels as they begin to reclaim their lost strength. The suspense grows as Mira and her team react to the awakening of the ship and the realization that their enemies are still out there. The stage is set for an epic return to the galaxy. The moment the Terran rebirth began to stir, an overwhelming sense of purpose filled the air. It wasn't just the ship that was awakening. Humanity itself was rising from the ashes. Mira stood at the control panel, her hand steady, as her team worked to restore systems and ensure the ship was ready for departure. The room hummed with activity, but Mira's thoughts were elsewhere. She thought back to the countless generations who had lived in exile, the survivors who had fought, struggled, and lost everything. Earth had been left in ruins, its cities razed by the forces that had believed they could destroy humanity once and for all. But now, after 3,000 years, humanity was back, and the galaxy would soon learn that nothing could erase their spirit. The Terran rebirth was more than just a ship. It was a symbol of survival, resilience, and vengeance. The vessel's sleek design was unlike any other, a product of humanity's genius. Powerful engines thrummed to life, the hum of energy reverberating through the room, sending chills down Mira's spine. "Systems are online," reported Vance, one of the engineers, his voice tinged with awe. "All major systems are functioning. We're ready to launch." Mira nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. This was it. They were no longer just survivors. They were the resurgence of a power long forgotten. The Turan rebirth was not only a warship, it was the key to their redemption. Her mind drifted back to the moment when they first arrived on Earth. They had known it wouldn't be easy to reclaim their place in the galaxy, but they didn't expect the overwhelming feeling of loss that had gripped them when they saw their home in ruins. The cities they had once known, the sprawling metropolises, now nothing but broken skeletons of what they used to be. But they had also found something else, something that gave them hope. The Turan rebirth was their future, and it was ready to fulfill its purpose. "We need to make contact with the fleet," Mira said, her voice steady, yet filled with anticipation. "The war isn't over. We need to let the galaxy know that humanity has returned. The comms officer, Elena, quickly patched into the fleet's communication network. Static crackled for a moment before a familiar voice came through. "Mira, is that really you?" It was Jalen, the fleet commander. His voice was a mix of disbelief and excitement. "We thought you were lost, gone forever." "I'm here," Mira replied, her voice unwavering. "And we're not just surviving anymore. We're taking back what was taken from us." There was a moment of silence on the other end, followed by a burst of static. Then, Jalen's voice came through again, this time with a new edge of determination. "Understood. We've been waiting for this day. The galaxy won't know what hit it." Mira felt a surge of pride. She wasn't just speaking to Jalen. She was speaking to the entire human fleet, the remnants of the Terran Empire. They had been scattered across the stars, hiding in the farthest reaches of space, but they had never stopped fighting. And now, with the Terran rebirth ready for battle, they were about to strike back. The ship's engines roared to life, and the hangar doors slowly began to open, revealing the vast expanse of space beyond. Mira turned to her team, her eyes meeting each of theirs. They had all been through so much. Their journey wasn't just about survival. It was about reclaiming their birthright, about showing the galaxy that Earth wasn't just a dead world. It was the heart of the most formidable force in the galaxy. "Prepare for departure," Mira ordered. "It's time to show the galaxy what humanity can do." As the ship ascended from the Earth's surface, Mira couldn't help but feel the weight of history pressing upon her. The galaxy had forgotten them. The Galactic Council had mocked them. The invaders had thought they had erased humanity from existence. But now, the Terran rebirth was the symbol of their return. The fleet of ships, hidden in the shadows of distant stars, began to mobilize. Each ship, though different in design, shared one purpose: to avenge the destruction of Earth, to restore the Terran Empire, to reclaim humanity's rightful place among the stars. "Status report," Mira called out as they left Earth's atmosphere. "We're in position," Elena replied. "We've activated the fleet's coordinates. The fleet is on course, and all ships are ready for combat." Mira nodded. The moment had arrived. The Terran rebirth was ready for battle, and humanity was ready to reclaim its place in the galaxy. They weren't just returning to fight for revenge. They were returning to dominate once more. The stars would soon tremble at the power of the Terran Empire. "Set course for the Galactic Council's stronghold," Mira ordered. "We're going to make them regret ever underestimating us." With that, the Terran rebirth surged forward, its engines pushing the ship faster than the speed of light, leaving Earth behind and heading straight into the heart of enemy territory. As the ship and the fleet of Terran warships followed, the galaxies began to tremble. Humanity had returned. As the Terran rebirth and the fleet of humanity's warships surged through space, the stars outside the viewing ports were nothing but streaks of light. Each ship moved in perfect unison, its engines roaring as the fleet's collective force propelled them toward the heart of enemy territory. Mira stood at the helm of the Terran rebirth, her hand steady as she watched the dark expanse of space unfold before her. The journey ahead would not be easy. The Galactic Empire, with its enormous power and arrogance, had no idea what was coming. They had forgotten about humanity. They had believed that Earth was a lost cause, that the Terran Empire was nothing but a fading memory. But the Terran rebirth was a stark reminder of how wrong they were. Mira's thoughts were interrupted as the comms officer, Elena, spoke up. "Commander, we've intercepted a message from the Galactic Council," she reported. "It seems they're preparing for something large." Mira narrowed her eyes, her mind racing. The Galactic Council had always been dismissive of humanity, thinking them weak after millennia of silence. But now, with the Terran rebirth and the fleet moving toward their stronghold, the Council's complacency would be shattered. "What are they planning?" Mira asked, her voice sharp. Elena worked quickly, decoding the transmission. "They've begun mobilizing their forces. It looks like they're expecting us." Good, Mira muttered, her lips curling into a fierce smile. Let them come. The Galactic Empire was unprepared for the might of the Terran fleet. Their arrogance, their belief that no one could challenge their rule, had made them blind to the threat that humanity posed. They would soon learn that underestimating Earth had been their greatest mistake. As the fleet continued its course, Mira's thoughts turned to the destruction of Earth. The invaders had razed humanity's home, leaving nothing but ruins. But humanity had survived. They had rebuilt themselves in the shadows, waiting for the moment to strike. Now that moment was here. How long until we reached their stronghold? Mira asked, her gaze still fixed on the stars ahead. At this speed, Commander, we'll be within striking distance in 3 hours, Alina replied. The fleet is maintaining formation, and all ships are on standby for combat. Mira nodded. Prepare for battle. We need to make an impact they'll never forget. The warships in the fleet were unlike anything the Galactic Empire had ever encountered. While the Council's ships relied on sheer size and overwhelming firepower, the Terran fleet was built for speed and precision. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, designed to strike fast and hit hard. The Terran Rebirth was the fleet's crown jewel, a symbol of humanity's resilience and a weapon of unparalleled power. We're about to enter their territory, Alina said, her voice steady. Shields are at full strength. All weapons are primed and ready. Mira's heart pounded as she glanced at the holographic map before her. The fleet was approaching the Galactic Council's stronghold, a heavily fortified system nestled in the heart of the galaxy. It was a fortress, a symbol of the Council's dominance. But in that moment, it felt like a tomb, a place where the Empire's arrogance would finally meet its end. All ships, engage stealth mode, Mira ordered. We'll hit them before they even know what's happening. The fleet began to shift, the ships aligning themselves for a strategic strike. The Terran fleet was smaller than the Galactic Empire's, but it was more agile and better equipped for the type of warfare they were about to face. The Galactic Empire's massive fleet was spread thin, and Mira knew that by the time they realized what was happening, it would be too late. In the quiet of the command room, the tension was palpable. The crew moved quickly and efficiently, preparing for the attack that was coming. Mira felt a surge of anticipation. This was what they had trained for, what they had waited for. After 3,000 years of silence, humanity was finally returning to reclaim their place in the galaxy. Prepare to engage the enemy, Mira said, her voice calm but filled with conviction. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's show them who we are. As the fleet moved closer to the Galactic Empire's stronghold, Mira felt the weight of history pressing down on her. The Terran Empire had been forgotten, but they had never been weak. They had never been broken. Now, the galaxy would learn that humanity's spirit could never be extinguished. The Galactic Empire might have thought they were untouchable, but they were about to discover the true cost of underestimating Earth. The Terran Rebirth and the fleet of human warships were coming to reclaim their home, to restore their empire, and to ensure that humanity's place in the stars was no longer in question. The stage was set. The battle would soon begin. As the fleet moved deeper into the Galactic Empire's territory, the silence in the command room was palpable. The tension among the crew members was thick, and yet there was a sense of purpose, a shared understanding that this moment was their destiny. The galaxy had been silent for far too long, and humanity's return was about to shake the very foundation of the Empire's power. Mira stood at the helm, her gaze fixed on the vast expanse of stars ahead. The Terran Rebirth had led the charge, its sleek, intimidating form cutting through the darkness. Behind it, the rest of the fleet followed, each ship an extension of humanity's resolve. The weapons were primed, and the shields were at full strength. Everything was in place. Enemy ships detected. Alina's voice broke the silence, bringing all eyes to the monitor in front of them. Mira's heart rate quickened, but her expression remained calm. They had known this moment would come. The Galactic Empire would never have allowed them to reach this far without resistance. Distance to enemy fleet? Mira asked, her voice steady, betraying none of the tension she felt. Approaching fast, Commander. Estimated time until contact. 10 minutes, Elena replied. The crew readied themselves. The plan was simple. Strike fast, strike hard, and leave no room for the enemy to retaliate. The Empire had long relied on its sheer numbers, but it was about to learn the true meaning of precision warfare. As the enemy fleet loomed on the horizon, Mira's thoughts turned briefly to Earth, her home, the planet that had been reduced to rubble by the Empire's cold, calculating machines. They had destroyed humanity's cradle, thinking it would crush them. But humanity had survived, had risen again in the shadows, and now they would pay the price for their arrogance. The Empire's response was swift and predictable. A swarm of enemy ships, large and intimidating, came into view. Their weapons glowed menacingly, ready to unleash a devastating wave of firepower. But Mira knew the true power of the Terran Rebirth and her fleet. The ships had been designed with speed and precision in mind, not brute force. It wasn't the size of the fleet that mattered. It was the strategy and the heart behind it. Deploy cloaking devices, Mira ordered, her voice a controlled whisper. The Terran Rebirth shimmered as the cloaking system engaged, and for a moment, it seemed to vanish completely, merging with the stars around it. The enemy ships, unaware of the fleet's presence, continued to advance. The Terran Rebirth and its fleet would strike before they even realized they were under attack. Prepare for launch, Mira continued. All ships target the command ship at the center of their formation. We take out their leader, and the rest will crumble. The Terran Rebirth was the first to break the silence, its weapons charging with a deadly hum. The ship's engines roared to life, its sleek silhouette emerging from the shadows as it hurtled toward the enemy fleet. The sudden appearance of the warship was like a ghost in the night, its power unmatched by anything the Empire had seen. Firing in 3, 2, 1. Elena's voice was calm, but it carried the weight of years of preparation. The Terran Rebirth fired first, a devastating barrage of plasma blasts that ripped through the heart of the enemy formation. The shockwave of energy sent shock and fear throughout the enemy fleet, and the once mighty Empire was suddenly scrambling to respond. The first ship to fall was the largest, an enormous battle cruiser that had once been the pride of the Galactic Empire. In seconds, it was torn apart by the concentrated fire of the Terran Rebirth. The destruction was swift, precise, and utterly ruthless. The Empire had been lulled into a sense of invincibility, but now they were learning the hard way that humanity had returned with a vengeance. All ships target the remaining vessels, Mira commanded. Her eyes never left the screen as the chaos unfolded before her. Each ship in the fleet followed her orders without hesitation, each one firing in perfect harmony. The enemy fleet was being dismantled, one ship at a time. As the battle raged on, the Empire's once pristine ships began to break apart, their structures crumbling under the relentless assault. The ships that had once been the symbol of the Empire's might were now little more than debris floating in the void of space. But even as the fleet was decimated, the Empire's command ship, the heart of their power, was still operational. Its shields were holding, and its weapons continued to fire, though with diminishing effectiveness. "We need to take out that flagship," Mira muttered. "Elena, are the stealth drones ready?" "Ready for deployment, Commander," Elena responded. "Send them in. Target their engines. We need to disable their ability to escape." The drones shot forward, invisible to the enemy sensors. They darted through the chaos of the battlefield, their targets locked on the flagship's engines. Within seconds, a series of explosive charges detonated, crippling the command ship. The once mighty vessel now had no power, no ability to defend itself. "Target destroyed," Elena confirmed. The Empire's forces were broken. What had once seemed like an unstoppable force was now nothing more than a scattered mess of broken ships and panic. The Terran Rebirth and its fleet had delivered their message. Humanity had returned, and the Empire's reign was over. Mira's eyes narrowed as she surveyed the battlefield. The cost had been high, But the victory was undeniable. Humanity had struck back with all its fury, and the Galactic Empire had learned that there were consequences for underestimating Earth. As the remnants of the Empire's fleet flood into the darkness, Mira knew that this was only the beginning. The Terran rebirth had returned to claim what was once theirs, and the galaxy would never be the same again. In the wake of the battle, the vast expanse of space was littered with the wreckage of the Galactic Empire's once proud fleet. Hundreds of ships lay scattered, some burning, others adrift in the cold silence of the galaxy. The Empire's pride had been shattered, and now humanity was taking its place at the center of the galaxy. The tide had shifted in favor of Earth, and the Empire, once thought invincible, was on the brink of collapse. Mira stood on the bridge of the Terran rebirth, her gaze fixed on the chaos unfolding around them. The battle had been intense, and the casualties were significant. But the victory was clear. The Empire's forces were in disarray, their once mighty command ship now nothing more than a crippled husk, drifting aimlessly. With their most powerful vessel neutralized, the remaining ships had no hope of regrouping. "Commander," Alina said, her voice breaking through Mira's thoughts, "the remaining Imperial ships are retreating. We've broken their will. The Empire is in full retreat." Mira nodded slowly, her expression grim. She had anticipated the Empire's surrender, but even now, seeing it unfold before her, it felt surreal. The once feared Galactic Empire, which had destroyed Earth and believed it could rule the galaxy forever, was crumbling before humanity's might. "Set course for the Imperial capital," Mira ordered, her voice steady. "We've finished this here. Let them know that humanity has returned and that Earth is no longer a planet to be ignored." With that, the Terran rebirth and the remaining ships of the fleet turned toward the heart of the Galactic Empire, the Imperial capital. This was the moment they had been waiting for, the final blow to the Empire that had nearly wiped out humanity. The people of Earth had waited 3,000 years for this, and now they were about to make their mark on the galaxy. As they made their way toward the capital, Mira allowed herself a brief moment of reflection. The battle had been won, but there was still much to be done. The Empire's surrender would not be enough. They had to ensure that Earth's voice would be heard throughout the galaxy. They had to make sure that the mistakes of the past were never repeated. The capital planet loomed ahead, a glittering jewel amidst the stars, but its beauty was now marred by the destruction left in the wake of the battle. The once grand city sprawled beneath the glassy surface of the planet, a reminder of the Empire's dominance. Yet, as Mira looked at the shattered remnants of the Imperial fleet, she could not help but feel a sense of justice. The Empire had taken everything from humanity, but now Earth was reclaiming its place. "We're coming up on the capital," Alina said, breaking Mira's thoughts. "The planet's defenses are still active, but they're weak. They'll be no match for us." Mira stood tall, her eyes narrowing as she stared at the planet. "Activate the fleet's final assault protocols. No mercy. We've waited too long for this." The command was clear, and within moments, the fleet began its final approach. The once proud capital of the Empire, a beacon of their might, was now a target for Earth's vengeance. The Empire's leadership would soon be facing the wrath of those they had wronged. "Incoming transmission," Alina said. "It's the Emperor." Mira's heart skipped a beat, and she turned toward the comm station. The Emperor, the figurehead of the Empire's tyrannical rule, was now desperate. She knew this would be a final plea for mercy, a last attempt to stop the inevitable. But there would be no negotiations, no mercy this time. "Put it through," Mira commanded. The image of the Emperor flickered to life on the screen. His once regal figure looked defeated, his face lined with fear and frustration. "Commander Mira," he said, his voice shaky, "I beg of you, halt your attack. The Empire, we can offer you anything you want. Please, we will surrender." Mira's lips curled into a grim smile as she met the Emperor's gaze. "You should have thought of that when you destroyed Earth. You should have thought of that when you wiped out billions of innocent lives. Now it's too late for apologies. The Emperor's expression twisted in anger, but it was clear he had no power left. The Empire's military might had crumbled, and the once unshakable imperial government was at the mercy of humanity's return. This is not about negotiation, Mira continued, her voice cold. This is about ensuring that humanity never faces this threat again. Earth will rise again, and the Empire will fall. You brought this upon yourselves. With that, Mira cut the transmission, turning her attention back to the battlefield. The final assault was about to begin. The Terran rebirth and the fleet of human ships descended upon the planet with terrifying precision. The planet's defenses were no match for the onslaught. Shields were pierced, and cities crumbled under the weight of humanity's might. The once proud empire was now a broken shell, its capital falling before the vengeance of those it had once oppressed. As the final shots rang out, and the capital's last defenses crumbled, Mira stood in silence. The destruction of the Galactic Empire was complete. Humanity had not only returned to the galaxy, it had taken its rightful place at the top. The Empire's fall had been inevitable. The might of Earth's fleet, the skill of its commanders, and the determination of its people had ensured victory. The galaxy would never forget this day. It was the day humanity rose from the ashes and reclaimed its place as the dominant force in the galaxy. As the Terran rebirth hovered above the burning remains of the capital, Mira looked out over the galaxy. It was a new era, one where Earth's voice would be heard loud and clear. The battle for survival had been won. Humanity had avenged Earth's destruction, and now they would rebuild. The stars had been silent for too long, but today they had witnessed humanity's return, and with that, a new era had begun. With the Galactic Empire now in ruins, Mira and her crew stood amidst the aftermath. Their mission complete, but their journey far from over. The ruins of the once imperial capital loomed below, a symbol of humanity's victory, but also a reminder of the cost of their triumph. The galaxy, long dominated by the Empire, was now a place of uncertainty, ripe for change. Mira stood at the helm of the Terran rebirth, staring out into the vast expanse of space. The stars, which had once been silent witnesses to humanity's subjugation, now seemed to shimmer with the promise of a new future. A future where Earth would no longer be a victim, but a force to be reckoned with. We did it. Elena's voice broke through Mira's thoughts. She was standing beside her, looking out at the horizon. The Empire is no more. Humanity has truly returned. Mira nodded, her gaze fixed on the endless stars ahead. Yes, but our work is not done. The galaxy is vast, and there are many more challenges to face. The Empire may be gone, but the power vacuum left behind will not be easy to fill. There will be others who seek to claim that power. The crew of the Terran rebirth had spent years preparing for this moment, but now, with victory achieved, a new responsibility lay before them. They were not just conquerors, they were the architects of a new era, one where the lessons of the past would guide their future. What do we do now? Elena asked, her voice filled with the uncertainty that had settled over the crew. They had come this far, but the galaxy was still in chaos, and the path ahead was unclear. We rebuild, Mira said with determination. We show the galaxy that humanity is not just a force of vengeance. We are a force for change, for peace, for balance. But Mira knew that peace would not come easily. The remnants of the Galactic Empire would not vanish overnight. There would be factions who refused to accept the fall of the old order, and there were those who would see humanity's power as a threat, eager to challenge the newly formed Terran Empire. Yet, Mira was resolute. She had witnessed the horrors of war, the destruction that the Empire had wrought upon Earth, and she knew that this was their moment to prove they were better than their oppressors. The Terran Empire would not be a replica of the old one. They would not rule with cruelty or fear. Instead, they would create a galaxy where all races could coexist, where Earth's resilience would inspire hope across the stars. Begin sending diplomatic messages to the other factions, Mira ordered. Let them know that the Terran Empire is here to stay. We will work with them, not against them, but we will not tolerate threats to our people. As the crew began their work, Mira sat down in her command chair, allowing herself a rare moment of reflection. The war had been long, and many lives had been lost, both in Earth's destruction and in the fight for its restoration. But it was all worth it. For the first time in centuries, humanity had a future. Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft chime on her console. A message had arrived from one of the other star systems, a request for a diplomatic meeting. It was the first step toward the fragile peace Mira hoped to build. This is just the beginning, Mira said to herself, staring at the message. The road ahead would be difficult, and there would be many obstacles, but she felt a sense of hope she hadn't experienced in a long time. The crew of the Terran Rebirth had proven their strength, but now it was time to prove their wisdom. The future of the galaxy depended not just on their ability to conquer, but on their ability to lead. Prepare for the diplomatic meeting, Mira instructed. We will show the galaxy that humanity is ready to move beyond the past. We will be a force for good in this new era. As the Terran Rebirth turned its course toward the distant star system, Mira couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had fought hard to return, and now that they had, they would shape the future of the galaxy. The Empire may have underestimated Earth, but it was now clear. Humanity was the force that would determine the galaxy's future. And as they ventured into the unknown, Mira knew that the stars were no longer silent witnesses. They were now a stage for humanity's story, a story of resilience, strength, and the determination to rise again. The galaxy had been forever changed, and this time, humanity would lead it.